I knew that in order to win her love, I needed to get rid of the human garbage, otherwise known as
lingering effects.
Yeah. Come on!
Abyss Dweller.
How do you keep getting back in?
I'm a
Lingering effect.
I don't know nothing about how I do anything. Oh!
Man, I hate floodgates, bro. The moment they show up, everybody's looking like,
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
and if it's the right one, you might not even be able to play your deck. At least, if you got something to get them off the field, the problems go away. But there's another type of card that once they use their effect, it doesn't matter if they leave the field. The effect stays. That's a lingering effect. And unlike floodgates, lingering effects are really common in Duel Links, and it's usually the same offenders.
Why is it, when something happens, it is always you three?
Believe me, Professor, I've been asking myself the same question for 6 years.
Lingering effects are an official term that means once the effect resolves, it stays applying until it says it stops applying. No matter what happens to the card, and after it resolves, it can't be negated. It can only be stopped before it resolves. So it happens, and then if you don't got anything to stop it, you just gotta live with it. Abyss Dweller has a quickie to detach a material to make it so that for the rest of the turn, the opponent can't activate cards in the grave at all. And you can shoot this off on the draw phase before they can do anything else. Artifact Lancia has a quickie during the opponent's turn to just tribute itself from hand or field to make it so neither player can banish cards at all for the rest of the turn. And just like Dweller, you can fire this bad boy off on the draw phase before they get to do anything. Heatwave makes it so neither player can summon anything except normal monsters until the end of the opponent's turn. And you can use it at the start of your own turn, so way before the opponent's turn even starts, you said they don't get to summon anything on their turn, while you still get to summon normal monsters. Number 68 Xanathon the Sky Prison detaches a material to make it so neither player can summon from the grave until the end of your opponent's turn. So you do it on your own turn before the opponent even has a chance to start playing, before their turn even started. Seal Tombs isn't even a card, but its effect is lingering anyway. It makes it so the opponent can't special summon from grave or banish anything from grave until the end of their next turn. And since it's a skill, there literally isn't a damn thing can do to negate this, even if they have cards they can activate. Just like Floodgates, these cards are all stopping the opponent from doing something entirely. But unlike Floodgates, you can't just take these effects off the field. Once they're there tight. They ain't budging till they want to leave.
Oh boy, I can't wait to play my favorite grave deck on ranked and get to King of Games.
You might be able to make an argument that floodgates can be interactive, as long as the game has ways of dealing with those floodgates that are just as easy to use as those floodgates are. But with lingering effects, I feel like they're a lot harder to defend.
But undead, they keep overpowered grave decks in check.
But what keeps them in check, bro? If everything gotta have something keeping them in check, what keeps these lingering effects in check? I'm not gonna act like there's nothing you can do against them at all, but while there are a lot of cards that can help you out against floodgates, for a lot of these lingering effects, there's very few cards that can help you if there are any cards at all. This is a core aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh though, and I do at least have to admit that even though you can't do anything about these effects when they've happened, they only last for a certain amount of time, so as long as you can survive through them, you're gonna be alright. Easier said than done though. A lot of the time, they can just kill you within that time frame. But that does give us a crack we can slip through to get through this without having to resort to
just draw the out, bro.
These cards here, there's pretty much nothing we can do about them while they're active, and we don't really have a solid way to stop them from happening in the first place. So we can talk about what we can do about them later, but these cards here, there's actually a bit of counterplay here that we gotta talk about. Abyss Dweller is a quick effect that they want to use on your turn to make it so that on the turn it's activated, you can't use card effects in your grave.
My poor Mizukis, what have they done to you?
The fact that they can do it on your turn though is gonna open up a window that we can jump through. They're gonna try to avoid things like kaijus by activating Dweller on the draw phase or standby phase, but since it's gonna be your turn, you can activate quick plays from your hand to potentially do something about it. If you have Forbidden Chalice or Forbidden Droplet, using one of them to chain to Dweller will invalidate that Dweller and prevent its lingering effect from applying in the first place, so you're gonna be all good. Some archetypes have similar cards to Chalice and Droplet, but other than that, these are pretty much the only generic cards that get the job done of stopping Dweller's effect before it happens. Xanathon is an ignition effect that the controller activates on their own turn though, so you can't Chalice or Droplet it, since they're going to be using this turn 1. Since it is something that they use on their turn though, you can use Veiler in response to its activation, or Ghost Mourner in response to a summon so that they can't resolve its effect, and you'll still be able to summon from grave on your turn. Since it is a turn 1 play, hand traps are pretty much the only thing you can do to stop this, but if they do this after you've set up your board to bait out interruptions, then you will have to interrupt it before its effect gets to resolve. Artifact Lancia is going to completely shut off banishing, and unless you already have established cards on the field that can negate it, which are pretty unlikely since they can just use it preemptively before you summon those, if the opponent has this in hand, it's just going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it.
My poor Mizukis, what have they done to you?
The one thing we can at least be glad about is that if you put this in your deck, it's only going to work if your opponent banishes things during their own turn. If there are no or very few decks that are popular that can actually banish during their own turn, then this card's going to be dead. People aren't really going to be playing it. So decks that banish on their own turn are going to be more safe from it. But if a lot of decks are banishing on their own turn, this becomes more justifiable in your deck, meaning that decks that banish during their own turn aren't safe. Heatwave is used at the start of main phase 1 and stops both players from summoning anything except normal monsters until the end of the opponent's turn, meaning that the player who activated it gets the first shot at summoning effect monsters again. Since it's a spell the opponent can use on the first turn, there's not really any hand traps we can use to stop this. It just happens and there's nothing we can do about it. There's only one copy in the game though, so the opponent has a pretty low chance of drawing it, and what's more than that, its best application is if you went first with it, because it won't stop the monsters the opponent already controls. That means you're going to want to be playing this in the deck with normal monsters you can summon to help deal with the opponent's monsters, so the opponent has a hard time following up on their next turn, so you can go in for game on your follow-up. So there's only one in the game and you're going to be playing a normal monster deck for it. Well damn, so it can't be that good, right? What a coincidence. Would you look at that? Blue Eyes is one of the best decks in the game, and they get a win button for free. Those downsides of only being available at one copy and wanting to be played in a normal monster deck for the best versatility ain't really that big of a deal anymore, because Blue Eyes can win pretty easily without it, so if they draw it, it's pretty much just a free win for them. At least with those cards, they're cards, so you can technically negate them if you got some type of negate on the field. But cards can't interact with skills, so if the opponent can get their life points to only 1k below yours, they can completely turn off your grave, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. Like, I was being a bit dramatic with those other cards, saying you can't do anything about them, because it's like, with those, it's the context of how they're used that makes it pretty much impossible to stop them. But with Sealed Tombs, you literally can't stop it under any circumstance.
My poor Mizukis, what have they done to you?
This puts us between a rock and a hard place. How are you supposed to play against things that are good because of how they are nearly impossible to play against? How are you supposed to stop something that requires you to draw the out if you didn't draw the out? Hold on though, alright? Not all hope is lost. There's something we can do against all of these. Abyss Dweller's effect only lasts for the turn. Lancia only lasts for the turn. Heatwave only lasts until the end of your turn. Xenophond only lasts until the end of your turn. And Sealed Tombs also only lasts until the end of your turn. All you gotta do is find some way to survive until your next turn so that you can try to make your plays again. If any of these lingering effects hurt you in some way, all you can really do is try your best to survive. The best thing about these effects is that it's gonna buy the opponent a whole turn to kill you, since you won't be able to set up your full defense. So the best you can do is try to find a way to at least stay alive so that you can have an opportunity to get your lick back. Some decks that are hurt by any of these lingering effects survive with some part of their inherent strategy. Perhaps the effect only partially stops their game plan, and you can still somewhat set up something to defend yourself. If your deck is completely shut off though, you might want to place some cards in your deck that can keep you alive against the opponent's onslaught, in whichever way fits your deck best. This could be just getting as many monsters on your field as you can just to protect your life points, even if it's just setting a monster face down. It could be setting a back row to stop the opponent's monsters from attacking you for game. It could even be some other survival mechanism your deck might have to keep you alive. It's going to be different from deck to deck, and if you can't think of a way for your own particular deck, then say what deck you're playing in the comments, what lingering effects you have trouble with, and I'll be able to help you figure out how you can be better prepared for them. Surviving is honestly going to be the most you can do a lot of the time, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be guaranteed to live, but you're going to win more often through these if you change your mindset to trying to stay alive. I've had plenty of games where I'm playing a grave reliant deck and the opponent completely stopped me from doing what I need to do for a turn, but I still somehow won just by narrowly surviving and getting another chance to try again. I asked you guys what you thought of lingering effects and Duel Links, and most of you feel like they're fine for the game. There was a lot of comparing specifically Dweller to specifically Ophion, so I guess Dweller is being thought of as like the poster child for lingering effects, and Ophion is the mascot for Floodgates at the moment. Both of them can completely shut down your strategy, and both of them can be turned off with a tech card, but there is an important distinction that might make lingering effects seem more fair. Even though lingering effects are more difficult to interact with in general, they're only temporary, while floodgates are permanent until some form of interaction can undo them. If you're gonna hard counter somebody, perhaps you could say it's more fair to hard counter them for a specific amount of time rather than permanently. Me personally though, I know that duels don't really last that very many turns, and it's often not that important how long a lingering effect lasts, because the good ones all last long enough to create the same amount of advantage as a floodgate, but they're more difficult to interact with. For me, it's the fact that they're more difficult to interact with that irks me. That's why I personally sit on the side of feeling that they're unhealthy. But this isn't really a question that has a right or wrong answer. Two people can look at the same thing and have completely different perspectives on it, and those two perspectives can both be right. That said though, talking to others to learn their perspectives can give you a wider view of the whole picture, so you can have a much broader perspective, even if you still come to different conclusions. I want to pass the conversation off to you guys. Are lingering effects healthy for duel links? And if that question is too simplistic, what makes a lingering effect healthy and what makes it unhealthy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this video, then slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified every time we make a new video. Have yourselves a good one, guys, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.